Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Polyhedron Kaleidocast episode 22.
Hello, hello, hello.
Word.
Yes,
I'm feeling street tonight. I was listening to rap music in the car on the way home.
You feeling street from the 1990s?
Perhaps, maybe I'm wearing parachute pants right now.
Let's not delve.
No, although it's easy to delve in parachute pants, there's loads of room.
There's something wrong with you, Andy.
We've established that 20 podcasts ago.
Anyway, I'm Steve Tudor from Polyhedron Collider.
I'm MC Lewis.
And I'm just John Cage.
Oh, and you're hopefully listening to a podcast about board games and tabletop games.
If they haven't already just turned off in disgust.
Well, yes, hopefully you'll stick with us for the next hour, but we'll see.
Board games might pop up at some point.
It's true. This is like watching ice hockey. I mean, you don't go along to watch ice hockey. You go along to watch a fight, and at some point, ice hockey breaks out. Exactly. Who remembers NHL from the 90s on the Mega Drive? That was so good. Anyway, board games.
So board games, right. So, what have you guys been playing?
Well, I thought we'd actually start by talking about faith.
Mm.
And I don't mean I've suddenly found God.
That's just as well. I was going to put some George Michael on just then.
So this is an RPG both me and John played a few weeks back, actually, isn't it?
Yeah, that was good fun.
Yeah, it is a science fiction RPG, and its full title is Faith, the Sci-Fi RPG. And what we played was a starter set. So you get like the Pathfinder starter set and the Dungeons & Dragons starter set. This is a starter set with a little campaign built into it. What was at the time the full rulebook. There's a Kickstarter online just now for like an expanded rulebook. And all that you need, so cards, tokens.
Yeah, so it's a good place to start if you're getting new to coming in fresh from it.
Yeah. Now, the thing to notice that I did not mention dice in that description.
I feel disgusted. An RPG without dice? Explain yourself, Tudor.
This is a card-driven RPG. So there are no dice in this game at all. So instead, how the game works is when you come to do a test, you will pick a skill. So let's say I'm trying to shoot you with a plasma gun. So I'll pick my ballistic skill, which says 4. Then we'll use an attribute, which if you think Dungeons & Dragons term, your strength, dexterity, constitution kind of thing. Yeah. Slightly different. And that attribute tells me how many cards I can play.
All right, okay.
And the cards are basically the same as a normal standard deck of cards.
Okay.
So there's 4 suits, numbered 1 to 13. So what they've done is they've given the face cards values.
Mm-hmm.
So what you do is you take your basic skill and then you add a number of cards to that test.
Okay.
And whichever side scores the highest wins.
Ah, clever.
So you kind of get to pick your dice rolls to some extent.
So is there presumably you don't just sort of free draw once you've played cards? There's a limit to the number of cards you'll kind of maintain for a while. Yeah,
your hand of cards is kind of your stamina. So you'll start off with 7 cards, and as you play them, certain ways in which playing them allows you to redraw. So if you play a card value that's under your skill value, so we just said, you say you had a ballistic skill of 4, and you played a card of up to 4, 1, 2, 3, or 4, that allows you to draw another card into your hand. It's supposed to represent that this task, you're really proficient, so you'd manage to play a low card. The 4 suits also represent 4 different environments. So they're basically wilderness, urban, space, and cyberspace.
Well done.
So if you play a card that matches the environment you're in, you get to draw another card. And each character also has an affinity to a particular environment. So if your character has an affinity to that environment, you get to draw 2 cards.
Ah, okay.
That was quite an interesting effect because my character was a wilderness character. So basically pretty much anything he did, there was an opportunity for him to recoup more cards. One of the guys was a hacker, so the cyberspace bit. So as long as he was hacking, he was fine. So any opportunity he could do that, he was trying to find. And the other guy was a city guy. We're in the wilderness, so basically he got no bonuses.
How does the hacker get a bonus in the wilderness?
Well, So the enemy is a kind of a mixture between like technology and organic matter. So they're cyborgs basically. You can kind of hack them or hack their guns to try and disable them. So you can have. It was quite an interesting mechanic actually, because it meant that most of the time I was trying to wade in as Roadblock, the big guy who was basically a tank, to try and block damage from the other two. The guy who was the city guy had some pretty good sneaky kind of attacks. So he could sneak in behind me and then reach out behind and stab a few people from nearby.
Basically, he gave you a reach around. Is that what you're saying?
Something like that, yeah. If you want to use those words, Andy.
Nice. I do want to use those words. Yes.
Yeah, or sneaking up from the bushes, nearby. So he'd use me as a diversion, whilst the other guy basically hacked the guns that they were trying to shoot us with. So they'd be like there aiming at us, and then suddenly they'd go click, and they'd be looking down at their guns while we went and stab, stab, stab.
Okay.
What's worth mentioning, though, is the way in which actions work in it. So it's not like Dungeons & Dragons where, okay, I'm going to hit you, I have to roll and beat your armor class.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, you say, right, I'm going to shoot the bad guy. Or the bad guy, let's say it the other way around. The bad guy levels his gun at you and he's going to shoot you. Well, what are you going to do?
Duck.
Yeah, exactly right. Duck. So rather than just me trying to roll as a GM, trying to roll against your armor class to say it hits you, I'd make a ballistic skill check. So if I shoot you, you do a dodge check to see if you duck out the way.
Well, that's quite good.
So you will play your skills and attributes for the dodge. I will play the skills and attributes for the shooting.
Right. Okay.
And you always get opportunities to react to these things, which is quite nice.
So you get to go all Neo then.
If the enemy was like made several actions against you, yes.
Awesome.
But that didn't happen that often, did it?
No, there wasn't. I mean, it was normally like you'd get a go where they were attacking you, and then you'd have a go where you were attacking them. But because you get a reaction to everything, that was quite an interesting way of doing it, because it wasn't like, yeah, it's their turn now. It's their turn, and then you get a chance to do something back. And then it's your turn, and they get a chance to do something back. So that was quite cool.
So if you decide to shoot the enemy during your action, well, they'll get a reaction to try and shoot back or dodge or, do what they want to do, basically.
Yeah.
It made it a lot more dynamic. It meant that combat wasn't just a case of, right, I've written a review on the website, and it somehow made Dungeons & Dragons seem worse.
Ooh.
Because
how dare you?
Well, I equated it to Dungeons & Dragons felt like standing in the queue at the post office.
What? You're surrounded by old people and a faint whiff of piss?
Depends what kind of dungeon you're in,
They're
doesn't
not Malvern Post Office.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you're standing there basically in a queue. It goes, initiative number 12, please. Right, I'm going to go up to the cashier and I'm going to attack now.
Do you have to fumble in your pocket for the right amount of change as well before you buy a book of second-class stamps?
And in 2 or 3 initiatives' time, it might be your turn.
Yes.
I see.
Whereas this was a lot more dynamic. And the nice thing as well is it was really rules light. So your skills and attributes were really simple. But one thing the game did try and do is try and encourage you to give yourself advantages and disadvantages, which I thought was actually quite hard to try and get across to the players. I don't know what you felt about that, John.
Yeah, I kind of missed that until about the last half an hour, I think, of the 3 or 4 hour session. But I think because we're all new to it, it's pretty difficult to see that sort of stuff up front. So it wasn't really clear that there was more of an emphasis in this one. We were just playing it like an RPG, and most of the time it seemed like the only option was to fight back or try not to die or attack something. Like there weren't as many. So personally, when I play D&D and I come across different situations, I'm always thinking like, can we avoid this or can we do other things? But for some reason with this one, initially it felt like it was you've got a gun and that's about the only thing you can do really. So maybe it was just that we were quite new to this and we weren't experienced with it. So it wasn't so obvious that there were opportunities to say, well, I'm going to dodge behind a rock over here, or I'm going to hide behind roadblock. Or towards the end, we were definitely getting the idea of it, though, I think.
Because the GM's guide actively encourages you to do things like, okay, what can you do to gain an advantage in that situation? So rather than just going, all right, I shoot at the monster, you're adaptively encouraged to say, like, all right, then I dive behind a tree for cover, peek out and shoot him in the leg or something like that. And I'll go, okay, you get advantage for this, disadvantage for that, which gives you extra cards, takes cards away from you or takes cards away from the enemy.
Mm-hmm. Did you get to go all Max Payne on them? Either go into sort of, slow-mo and then sort of dual-wield pistols as you're diving through a window?
No.
Because if you get to do that, I'm playing.
I think if you want to do that, we need to play Vampire.
Excellent. Yes, I like Vampire, actually. Let's do that.
So what is really refreshing about this game is it's all card-based, as I've said. So the resolution's card-based, but all the stats are card-based as well. So all the creatures, all the weapons, armour, NPCs, they're all on cards as well. Rather than saying, oh, you've got a healing potion and someone has to then rummage through a book and find out what the rules are for a healing potion, it would say, all right, you've got a med kit. Here's the med kit card. There you go. And they can read that and know exactly what that kit does.
Ooh,
yeah,
okay.
I thought that was a really neat mechanic. The only problem with that is that there weren't actually enough cards for the players that we had.
No, sorry, I was going to ask, actually, does that not limit the number of monsters and things you can do within the game because you're limited by the number of cards?
The only limit, I think, was a point when we had that adrenaline packs, wasn't it? Which are like quick healing packs, and it said that everyone gets an adrenaline pack and there's 2 adrenaline cards in the base set.
Well,
That's not the end of the world, though, because, I mean, we're on the same side. You can all have a look at each other's cards. It's not the end of the world, I don't think.
And also it did the same for weaponry as well, so the P42 plasma rifle, which I think was our personal favourite.
No, there's Sunshine. That was the best
The
gun.
P42 Sunshine Cannon, that was it.
Sunshine Cannon. It sounds like something from Teletubbies or Balamori.
No, it's like the BFG. It was like a portable sun. I'm just going to open the sunlight here. Oh dear, everything's dead.
You know that point when you say, right, and you've hit it, and I check the hit points of the enemy, and the enemy has been vaporised.
Excellent. You've separated it down to its component atoms. That's a good effort. Yes, well done.
And separated those.
I'm not going to spoil the adventure that's in it. The adventure is grueling. It's so grueling, in fact, I had to email the designers and make sure that we weren't playing it wrong. But it ended that we were playing it right.
Okay.
The first stage is supposed to be hell on earth. It's called A Garden in Hell. So you're supposed to limp through that first act of it. But what it does quite interesting is it's quite a nice starter thing. So it actually does throw you all in the deep end, kind of all together as a team. It gives you a reason to all to be together. It gives you a reason to have like no equipment, no experience, and things like that, which is quite nice. It's also hinted at that it's a very pivotal plot point in the setting of the entire universe as well.
Okay.
Which you didn't get to because that's the end basically. But it's quite major for what that setting is.
You kind of got some hint. I mean, I don't want to give any spoilers, but you kind of got some hints that there was going to be more stuff going on. And I quite like the fact that when you first start off, the very first kind of encounter is relatively gentle. But then by the end of, I think we'd been playing about an hour before we'd all nearly died. I mean, literally looked like that was going to be it. Game over. Everyone dead. I like that little, that air of desperation. It reminds you that you're not in control.
Yes. Oh dear, we're fucked. Never mind.
And you were pretty close to being fucked, actually, at one point.
Yep.
I thought you were all
Excellent.
going to die at one point. I thought it was just like, all right, this is it. It's going to be game over here now.
Grenades.
But you survived.
Just throw the fucking grenades.
You know that heavy weaponry you're saving for a special occasion? This is that special occasion.
If you wait 5 minutes more, there will be no more special occasions. Not now, not ever.
Your brains will be plastered across the nearest floor.
Another thing I want to quickly mention as well is the way the story was written. There was no way for the players to see everything. So, I mean, we've all been through like the starter set from Dungeons & Dragons, which kind of lays it out as like everyone is waiting for you to arrive kind of thing, like a video game. You know, while you're away, the entire universe is static. This was like, well, if the players go to point A first, then they will miss the events at point B.
Oh, that's quite good.
If they go to point B first, they will miss the events at point A.
Ooh.
And it was also suggested later on, the longer you spent like resting for healing, actually you had a little time thing, tick things off, and major events would happen after a certain amount of time.
That's quite cool.
So if the players wasted time doing things that weren't appropriate to the plot, well, the plot would catch you up or would happen while they're away, which was quite interesting as well.
Oh, that's quite cool.
So how many things did we miss?
You actually did it I think you did the optimum route through that first act. You were up and in at one point between two ways, and if you'd gone the other way, it would have ended very differently.
It would have ended badly.
Yes.
You chose poorly. Oh, that's quite good. So, is there not a danger, therefore? I mean, you may not know the answer to this question, given it's just a starter set and you've done one session.
Yeah.
But with the ongoing plot in the background, there's the possibility of people going left and right and point to point A, B, C, D, E, all the way through. Is there not a possibility that it ends up, with more unraveled threads than a fire at a factory?
Or you end up missing the main plot line.
No, Thankfully the main plot line there's like a major event at the end of the scenario which you can't miss.
Right.
Because it is a major event, and what's interesting is, and I don't know how it's made by Burning Games, which are a Spanish company. They're doing a Kickstarter at the moment for like a full rule book. But I don't know what they've got planned for future modules at this point. But what is quite interesting is I think your decision at the very end of the starter set could have very big effects on where the story goes after that.
Okay.
Right.
So I'm not quite sure how you're going to handle it. It's like that whole thing, like when you play a video game and you've got three choices of endings and you pick ending A, and when they bring out a sequel, they decide that everyone did ending B.
That really pisses me off, actually.
Yeah.
At the end of the last game, you survived. Fuck off! I got killed by the big bad guy.
So yeah, I was really quite impressed with it. I thought the cards were really good in the way they changed the dynamics of the system. The dynamic system of the actual actions was really nice. The other thing to mention is all the cards were unique and had artwork of the setting.
And the artwork was gorgeous.
Oh yeah, it's a beautiful looking game.
It was really good.
Okay, so it sounds like you lot thumbs up for Faith then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing I would say is the health system. So when you start taking damage, you basically get less cards, which means you can fight back less, which means you tend to take more damage, which means that you can't fight back as much. I don't know whether it's just like the way we were playing it or something along those lines, but it felt like it wasn't just... I quite like the mechanic, like the fact that it makes you worse as you get hurt. Like, I really like that idea. It just felt like the moment you took one bit of damage, you were screwed, and you got more and more screwed much more quickly as a result.
It was like an avalanche effect.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was realistic. I'll give it that.
Yeah,
you
definitely.
take a wound. But yeah, I could feel the look on your faces as we're getting towards that final boss fight.
Yeah.
We're like, they're not enjoying this. This is all going horribly wrong.
I wouldn't say I wasn't enjoying it. Like, I quite like that feeling of desperation that you don't. It's uncertain whether or not you're going to make it out of it. But it was that whole once you've taken 1 point, because I don't think we'd really taken much damage to that point. So everyone was like, yeah, we'll just go in. And at that point, it was like, actually, there's a really good chance every time we get hit by anything, like even just the tiniest little, I've got a bit of a scratch on me. It looks a bit infected now. Actually, that's tracking up my leg. That's tracking up my leg now. In fact, amputate that leg. Okay, well, I can't walk so well now, so I'm going to have to favour the other one. I've got to hold my left hand in a crutch now, so that's one hand down to attacking things, and I'm going to defend with the other one. So all I can do now is just defend and try not to die for a bit until it eventually kills me.
And you end up like the Black Knight from the Holy Grail.
It did feel like it was rapidly escalating towards that.
It's just a flesh wound.
But that was in the rules as well. There's like the rules for surgery. It says you can give a character hit points by sacrificing a limb.
Oh, good lord!
My character could heal one limb per month. It could regrow it.
What the hell are you, a lizard?
It was like a special ability in my character class.
That's impressive.
Anyway, I think we quite enjoyed it, didn't we, John? So,
yeah, it was really different to any other RPG I've ever played, and it was a lot of fun playing it.
It's quite interesting where this goes, because that setting you were like a commando squad, like a recon squad, but the free adventure you can download online, because some of the rules and stuff are online you can get hold of. That's like you're a bunch of pirates scavenging for wreckage.
Arr.
It's quite interesting. You could take that sci-fi thing any way you want as well. So that was Faith RPG, and that was the Garden in Hell starter set. I think that's in the shops now, and the Kickstarter for the full rule book with miniatures as well is on Kickstarter now.
Nice.
There we go. If it's got miniatures, it'll do well. That seems to be the standing rule of Kickstarter.
So says the miniature whore.
That's not me!
Isn't it?
No! I've only got one game with miniatures in. I think. Or maybe two. Okay, 2.
3, sir. Yeah, you're right.
No,
Steve is definitely the whore when it comes to miniatures.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. What have you recently backed, Steve?
Well, Rising Sun, of course.
There you go. Yeah. Admitting it is part of the problem.
But that's something for another podcast, methinks.
Yes, that might be one for
a whole podcast, probably.
a whole podcast, yes.
So, aside from playing Faith RPG, we've also been to a little gaming convention.
We have indeed.
Which would be Airecon.
Yes, in Arrogate.
In Arrogate.
Arrogate.
Airecon in Arrogate.
So this was Airecon 4?
Yep.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So we went along to it last year around about October time. Last year they were doing 2 a year. Now they're going to move to just 1 a year, I believe.
Yeah, the next one is pretty much a year's time, because he'd already posted 2 days after the Airecon. It's like 362 days to go till Airecon 5. And people have already booked hotels.
So it's a 3-day convention up in Harrogate in the north of England, and it's mainly a gaming convention, as in lots of open tables with gaming. So there's a few trade stands there, but I mean, I would say like 75% of space was just loads and loads of tables, wasn't it?
The emphasis was definitely on playing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's nothing like Expo,
No.
where the focus is obviously just buying stuff, where Airecon is literally, you just go along with a big bag of games and just sit down and play. Maybe one of them for the entire weekend. I took 12, I played 2. 2! Because there's just so much else going on.
I think that's better than me. Actually, I think I took 12 and played 1.
Wow. That was Mansions, wasn't it?
That was Mansions, yeah.
God.
Well, percentage-wise, I think I did well then, because I think I only took about maybe 8, and we played 2, maybe 3 of the ones that I brought.
That's pretty good going.
So what games did we play? I've got a little list here. So from my records, I think we played Dixit, which is very good. One we played before. Planetarium, a new one on me. We'll probably cover these in another podcast, right? I mean, there's quite a few
Yeah, we'll
here,
definitely cover Planetarium.
Definitely cover Planetarium, another one, because I think that's a nice big chunky one to get your teeth into. That.
Nom nom nom. Mysterium, Mansions of Madness, Everdark, Ingenious, Ticket to Ride. Played Viticulture as well. But
yes, we were treated. Mr. Luke Hector gave us a bit of a treat, because he won competition with Geeknson tables, of which Mr. Tudor may or may not be an upcoming customer. Watch this space.
More may than may not at this point.
Oh, there we go. I think we're going to have to visit and christen that. But Luke won a competition for 2 hours on a gaming table, which he was very generous and invited the 3 of us to join him. And we had a very civilised game of creating wine and viticulture. So, we won't cover viticulture too much, because we've covered it before in one of our earlier podcasts, very early ones. But suffice to say, the table was very nice.
it was.
It was.
our
What
first
did you
time.
think, guys? Briefly.
Not as bad as I was expecting.
What were you expecting?
It's worker placement, so I'm slightly prejudiced against it. But
You have no taste, sir.
well, okay. So the thing that gets me about worker placement is that it tends to feel a little bit too much like work. But But actually, I quite enjoyed that game. The other thing I tend not to like about it is that I tend to play it with people who played it lots of times before, and they know what are reasonable strategies, so they have some inkling. And these games, because they're geared towards people who play a lot of worker placement games in a lot of cases, they've got
Why
a
are
lot
you
of
looking at me?
They've got a lot of well, because you've played a lot of maybe almost exclusively worker placement games.
Maybe.
But the thing that frustrates me is that they tend to have like a million different ways that you can earn victory points, and that's generally how you win the game.
Yes.
Right. So
The point salad.
yes, exactly. But the thing that puts me off about them is I have absolutely no idea about which ones. Like, you get presented with hundreds of different ways to make some victory points, and as a new player, you have absolutely no idea which ones might be good strategies versus other ones. So you sit there and you're like, well, it's viticulture, so better grow some wine then. So it took me a while to get my head around where you grow vines and then how you mature vines and then how you... Anyway, we're getting too much into viticulture, but the depth of knowledge, I think, as a newbie player is very difficult to pick up and feel like you're going to form a good strategy, which is good, depth of play and all that, but as a newbie player, you can't just crack on with it and understand it in 2 or 3 moves, for example.
Believe me, I've played it lots, and my strategies are still shit, so you're not alone. Jesus, you beat me, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, hang on, consider you didn't understand it. You came second, John.
Yeah, but
Exactly.
it's entirely luck. It's called
Okay.
viticulture, so presumably, how do I make wine? Okay, you need to do these things. Okay, and they had to remind me about half a dozen times throughout the whole game. So when do I harvest my grapes again? That's at the end of the summer, John.
Anyway, we enjoyed the table.
Can anyone remember what model table it was?
I can't remember the model, but
it was made of wood.
it was one of the mid-sized ones, I think. So it wasn't the biggest you could get, and it wasn't the smallest either.
Yes.
And it had mug holders. I remember that because someone stole one off me and demonstrated it to somebody else.
Yeah, so it's if you've ever seen a gaming table, Geeknson ones are, I would say, pretty standard. But to be fair, I think they're one of the first companies who came out with these things. So I think a lot of people have copied their basic design. So it's that idea you have a sunken table. So the actual gaming play area is about 6 inches deep. This one had like a neoprene mat, didn't it? It's like a mouse mat like material.
I thought that was a really nice touch because one of the things I hate about solid tables is sometimes it's almost impossible to pick the bloody cards up. Whereas
Yeah,
that thing,
stick
you can
to
always
it.
squish the surface slightly and pick them up. I thought it was a really nice little touch.
Yeah, it was that orange rubbery stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the Eye of Mordor
That's the
printed
one.
on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, on
Yeah.
the one we were on. It also
Sauron's
got-
eye, some orange rubbery stuff.
I thought it was like soft lino, but with Sauron painted on it.
Yes. No, it was good. It was really good.
The other thing to say is it's got LEDs all around the side of it as well, so your game is lit locally, as it were, so you're not relying just on the light in the room to light it.
See, that would be amazing for something like Mansions of Madness. Just turn all the lights off, just have the light from the gaming table. That would be so cool.
I have to say, I have one gripe about that. I like the idea of the table being lit, and that's cool. But they could do with just something over the top of those LEDs from the ones that you're looking at on the other side of the table.
Okay, yeah.
So personally, I thought it was kind of a bit glary. Whereas if there was if they were recessed just ever so slightly, so you couldn't see them directly, the whole of the table was lit up. I thought that would have been better still. But the whole
Or have
table,
some kind of diffuser on them.
well, they had a diffuser on them, but they just need something so that you're not looking quite so directly at the source of the light. But the whole of the table it felt really sturdy, and it looked really well made. I was really impressed actually.
It was very
The other
nice.
thing we haven't mentioned is the table can be converted into like a normal dining table, so slats go on over the top to cover it up. And so you could leave the game set up. So say, for instance, you are playing Twilight Imperium all weekend.
Or 1 week.
Again, why are you looking at me?
You could, in theory, then say, right, okay, we've finished that for now, cover the table back up, and then eat on that table and be happy that the game's fully set, remains.
That's really cool. Yeah, you don't have to take meticulous pictures of the whole thing in case the cat comes along and drags half their meeples away. Not that that's ever happened to me at all, Banjo. Yeah, seriously, we were playing Dead of Winter a few months ago, and he's taken particular liking to the red dye. He just keeps batting it about the game. He's taking zombies out left, right, and centre. Banjo, fuck off.
It's funny the way they take particular exception to some counters, not others.
He does. He just keeps batting this thing around. It's brilliant. Sorry, slightly off topic there.
I was going
Quite
to
right.
So the other thing I was going to say that I've seen from your feedback, Steve, is there's a particular model that's got a DM screen that pops up.
Yes, this was at UK Games Expo last year. I think it's an add-on. I think it'd be added to any of the tables.
Okay. Oh, yes, I remember that. That was nice.
It's like to begin with, it looks like a sliding drawer. You know, like the old desks you used to have, where the keyboard's on a sliding door, so the keyboard would go underneath the desk.
But then it pops up, doesn't it?
Yeah, but this actually pops up like a children's pop-up book. And you open it, and this DM screen pops up. And again, it's recessed. You can put like your, say you're playing Faith, A Guard in Hell. You can put your campaign book in there and fold it back up when you're finished, and it remains in its place.
That's really cool. We like that. Okay,
really smart.
So gaming tables all round then.
Yeah, there was one other thing that struck me actually. Now I think about it.
Was it the DM screen?
No, they've got this great little nook that you can tuck your cards that you're playing with into, just on the edge of the playing area. The only problem with that is that they're all parallel. so
you can see your opponent's cards.
Yeah, so it depends how honest the people you're playing with are.
Not at all.
And I know some people that we play with aren't the most honest. They'll have a good look. So I just wonder whether they could do like an ever so small insert so that you're just slightly more angled away from each other. Would just be a really neat little addition to that, rather than having the flat line across the whole lot of it.
I don't know whether that's available as one of the little clip-on add-ons.
Yeah, I mean it'd be dead simple to do, I would think.
Yeah, because they do these little add-ons, which are things that hook onto the side. So, like Andy mentioned, the mug holder. So your drink is segregated, is separated from the board by a good distance.
Yeah,
you don't have beer cardboard interface.
Yes,
or wine cardboard interface.
No, it's all good.
You could also get dice towers that go in there, and I know they had little trays as well, like with felt on. So if you wanted to roll dice onto the tray, you could as well. I don't know if they had card holders with them.
Don't know.
Maybe if they don't, maybe that's an option for them.
Yeah. Are you listening, Geeknson?
There you go. So so we spent a couple of hours there. That was good. Draw a crowd. We even attracted Jay from Breacher 18. I'm sure we'll be on video at some point.
I don't know. We're talking about six takes we took at that little introduction.
Yeah, the last one I thought was getting pretty good, actually.
we took our time to get it absolutely right. That's what happened there.
She was just filling time anyway.
So what else did we do? Yeah, there were quite a few more seller stands as well this time compared to last year as well, weren't there? There was like 3 or 4 seller stands, which is good. So it was a good selection of stuff. A very good bringing by. There was even an RPG tent.
Oh, yeah. There was actually, even though Airecon was quite a small convention, I was quite annoyed by the couple of things I still missed out on.
Well, I had a quick chat with Andrew Harmon of Yay Games, who was there promoting Ominos, which John has received and I still have not. Sort it out. So I'm every time I get home after work at the moment, I'm expecting to see a little postman's card saying, I tried to deliver and you didn't have it. And it's still not here. God damn it. But yeah, I spoke to Andrew, which is good. Before these two turned up on the Friday evening, I took part in a sort of Room 101-esque panel with a few other... Well, I hesitate to use the word celebrities, but from the UK Gaming Media Network, including Luke from Broken Meeple, Mike from Who Dares Rolls, Paul Grogan, who needs no introduction, and this must be now 21 podcasts in a row we've mentioned his name. We had Rob from...
Call to the New podcast?
Call to the New, yes, I keep forgetting the name. That's really terrible. Sorry, Rob. And we had... Michael from
Two can play.
Two can play that game. Thank you. Yeah, I'm doing well tonight. So for anyone who's not seen Room 101 on the telly before, essentially we all named an element of board gaming or something to do with board gaming that basically boils our piss. We try to convince the panel and the audience to put it into Room 101 where things go to die. So there was some good discussion. I won't ruin its content because I believe Michael will be posting it this Friday, which will be the 24th-ish of March. So it should be out by the time you hear this podcast.
Yes.
Give or take.
Didn't they call it Room 504?
They did. But
why is it 504?
Steve?
I don't know.
Now, there was something that Mike Barnes does, because I actually listened to his recent podcast last night, and they do a Room 504, but it's based on something else, but I don't know what.
Maybe
so
it's
you'll
an
have to ask
Americanism
Mike
or
from
something.
Who Dares Rolls, possibly. But it's a similar sort of thing. But it was called 504, but they changed it because I think there was something said. So they changed it to Room 101. But yeah, that should be out on sort of by the end of this week, sort of the 24th or so of March. And it was about an hour long, so not overly long. And some good discussion. We'll find out how that went. What else happened?
We had a look around a couple of the stands there. Unfortunately, I would like to publicly apologise to Defection Game because they were the game right next to Geeknson. And not long before I left, I was having a chat with one of the chaps from Geeknson. He goes, "Have you tried Defection yet? It's amazing. It's the best game I played all weekend." And I went,
Nope.
"Oh. No. Oh. Bugger."
Oops.
They're at Defection Game on Twitter. Go give them a shout out. We're going to see if we can chase up with them at UK Games Expo. But it looks really interesting, like a sci-fi cyberpunk kind of game. Looks intriguing.
Oh yes, I did see that. I didn't play it, but I know what you. Yes, I can see why you're interested in that. It did look quite good.
Yeah, a couple of other stands. A couple of people said we already said we spoke to Yay Games. Spoke to Inside the Box Games. They were demoing in Subterra.
Yes, for Subterra. Yeah.
Chatting to them about UK Games Expo as well. The plan for their stand at UK Games Expo is bonkers. I mean, Subterra is their game about subterranean exploration. I think half the crew are going to be in spelunking gear.
Nice.
If they can pull off what they're planning, it's going to be really cool. Quick shout out to Eldritch Essences as well, which was a bit of an odd stand. Again, they're going to be at Expo as well. They're a company that sells Cthulhu-themed scented candles.
Oh God, yes, I saw those. I'm surprised you didn't leave with a bag full of the bloody things.
I almost did, and I was tempted to get some for next time we play Mansions of Madness. Because if we're going to go over to John's and play out his big projector, I think we need to get a hold of some of them then.
Definitely.
There were some really interesting things. Like one of them was like supposed to be somebody's study, so it smelt of leather and tobacco.
Oh.
And it was actually a really nice smell as well. It's like, actually, that would be really cool. It gives that kind of essence. And there's like another one which was like lost in the woods. So you get the smell like moss and fir cones and such like.
The thing that worries me
smell
about
of
that
fear.
is there like a smell of the end of the world?
Yes, it's called poo.
And there he goes, right back down.
Yeah, I'm going to try and ignore him. So, one game me and John did have a look at, but again, unfortunately, get a chance to play, but I think we both really like the look of it, was Gloom of Kilforth.
I swear that sounds like some kind of quiet Scottish fishing village.
The Gloom of Kilforth.
Exactly. Kilforth. Honestly, the Gloom of Kilforth. Like a ghost that haunts this town. It comes out once a year.
Or it's just, it's a bit of a misty place in Scotland. Happens every
Scotland,
Saturday. Gloom of Kilforth.
Sorry, Steve, you were saying.
So Gloom of Kilforth was like and I don't want to sound quite generic because it really looked beautiful, but it was a fantasy questing kind of game.
Yeah.
The way the guy described it was, it's a game in which you try and make a story for your character. So you had now correct me if I'm wrong, John, because it was a couple of weeks back now.
Yep.
You had like personal quests you expected to go visit.
Yep.
And you had this whole array of cards laid out which represents all these locations. And you could visit locations which would add things to your quests.
Yep.
But the way he described it as well is you encountered people along the way and you could choose how you interacted with those people.
Mm-hmm.
He gave the example of you meet an old woman, so you could be kind to the old woman, in which case she'd help you, or you could be nasty to her, which might get you instantaneous bonus, but if you encountered her again, it would hinder you.
But also they were saying that you could encounter someone and try and persuade them to do a particular thing. And if you didn't persuade them, then you'd have like a mark against that person. And if you could conceivably keep on just trying to persuade this person, but if you eventually tried too hard, tried too many times, you'd piss them off. And in the same way that if you attack them, they'd basically become your enemy. So for the rest of the game, they'd be happy with everyone else, but against you, they'd be like, he's that fucking weird guy that won't stop talking to me. Stab, stab.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
And remarkably true to life.
I quite like the way they were saying that, like the gloom thing is that there's a badness that's kind of sickening the land. So it's gradually making the encounters that you can make more difficult. So gradually the spaces become more difficult to encounter because of this. And at the end game is you've got like some quest thing like overthrow a lord or do something like that. There was some. Each person had one big quest thing, and it sounded like you could potentially help each other. You all needed to do something to succeed together, but you each had your own quest. So, and if you fail against one of these big quest things, it typically seemed to get harder for the other people that would try it. So yeah, it sounded like
you could deliberately sabotage their day. Excellent.
Well, you could, but you're all in it together. It's basically cooperative.
Oh,
so
that's never stopped you before, John.
Well,
Dick Move John, they call
in a
him.
cooperative game, even I wouldn't play a Dick Move.
Okay.
But the way he described it was the aim was it would create a story. Like he suggested there was preset characters and quests you could use, like I think the cleric had to sanctify a temple and the assassin had to assassinate someone. That's quite simple. But he said it was encouraged that later on you'd swap things round. And he said he encourages the players to say, well, why is the assassin trying to sanctify a temple? Or why is the cleric trying to assassinate someone?
He's had a change of heart and gone back to think about his ways. Fantastic.
I think you were saying that you basically, they were picked for you, but you could deal them out anyway. So you get random things, and then you could essentially swap tasks with other players if it made more sense that. Well, the assassin felt, had been bequeathed by someone to sort this thing out, but he's not really that good, doesn't really care about it. And actually, how about if you sanctify this thing over here, then I'll kill that guy over there? Well, okay, we could work like this as a team.
Okay, sounds interesting.
Unfortunately, we didn't see much about how the mechanics worked.
No.
So we got the kind of overreaching plot and concepts, but we missed out on the mechanics themselves. Again, I think it's going to be at UK Games Expo, and the game is up for pre-order at the moment.
Right.
So there'll be a link in the show notes for you if you want to take a look, but it's really pretty looking.
Brillo bananas. One quick one, actually, I'd like to throw in whilst you're talking about gloom approaching and covering the land. After you guys had left, you just amateurs, part-timers, honestly, they turn up late, they go home early. Seriously.
It's almost like we got lives outside of board games.
It's overrated.
I know, not dedicated enough.
No, it's poor. I managed to bag some time with Ed from Walrus Games, who has made considerable changes to Everdark, which we mentioned about this time last year, actually, just before Expo and after Expo, and all of the times in between. And he's made a lot of changes to the game, and it's looking a lot better. There's some improved mechanics. He's now got he said at the time he's got a fairly final prototype until we played through the game, and I suggested a bunch of changes to him, and he's now taken those on board and updated it again. But it's a lot smoother than it was. So he's changed a lot of the cards, and the artwork's looking really, really good now. The feel of the game is definitely smoother. So a lot of the changes he's made are definitely better. The overall idea of the game is still the same. You're trying to save the city from the Everdark, but it's still semi-cooperative. He's added a competitive mode to it as well, and a fully co-op, I believe, although we didn't play that. So he's definitely expanded the ideas, taken on board a lot of feedback, and it's definitely better for it. So we discussed a few improvements and possible changes to the game, just to try and incorporate a couple of ideas he had and a couple bits of feedback I had. So he's planning, I think, to launch that at Expo. So he's got a bit of a tight time scale, and then finally get this out this year. So it's still looking pretty good.
So hang on.
I'm quite keen on seeing that.
You made some suggestions and he took them as improvements.
Yes, he did, Mr. Cage. It would appear that I know what I'm talking about.
It's just an illusion, though, isn't it?
Just don't tell Ed anything. No.
It would appear you know what you're talking about, but we all know you don't.
I am a professional bullshit artist. In fact, that's the second time today someone said that to me.
You realise you just said that to you, right, Andy?
Well, it was implied from you two. I'm just vocalising your thoughts, you cheeky bastards.
Was it you the first time as well?
It was not, actually. No, it was Scott at work.
He's a perceptive lad.
Yeah, well, that's one word for him, yeah. The other one rhymes with hunt. But go on.
I was going to say one game again, Encroaching Darkness cooperative.
Indeed.
That we did actually play.
All three of us played,
Yes.
in fact.
All three of us played at the same time, no less.
I know the stars actually aligned.
Yes, was the City of Kings.
Oh yes. Yes, Frank was good enough to take us through that. He'd collared us, I think, individually prior to it. No, you have to play it. You have to play it. Okay, Frank, we'll come and play it. So we all managed to go and sit down, and
then 15 minutes in, he was looking like he'd regretted his decision.
Oh God, I've invited these cretins. What have I done? How can I get rid of them? Right, we'll pick the hardest mission we can.
The hardest thing, and then how about dealing with the problems that are at hand, rather just, no, you're going to go and adventure some more. Oh, okay.
Okay. No, go over there. What are the red ones? They're really good, honestly.
Okay, so the game itself...
Back to the start, yes.
Yeah, exactly. So the idea is it was in some sort of utopia, basically. Everything was all fine, and then it went a bit wrong.
Yes, the shit hit the fan at Warp 9. Fighting broke out, and everyone sort of retreated back to the City of Kings.
Yes.
And it's the last city on Earth or city in the world anyway, so everyone's trying to sort of mount a defence from there.
Yeah, so everything was pretty good, and then the shit hit the fan, things turned bad, and everyone retreated to one safe place. Well, that's where we started our little starter campaign. So we each had a character, and the general idea is that you go out and there's a general quest that you have to complete, and they're randomly picked. So in our case, I think we had to kill 4 monsters or something like that?
There was several ways in which you could play it. You could do completely random quests, or there were ways in which you could set up the quests in order to make like a little campaign, like a little story. So what we did is Frank said that the quickest way to play would be to just pick a random quest and off you go. But he wanted to show off some of the longer term mechanics of the game to us. So we did one of these little mini stories. I think we did, it was 3 acts, and we did up to the end of the second act.
Yeah, basically, I think in the game in total, Frank said, I think there's 7 stories, of each of which consists of, I think it's 9 chapters. And yeah, we did the first 3. Well, we managed to succeed to do the first 2. But
Yes.
yeah.
We didn't die.
No,
completely.
Well,
Well, almost. It's a cooperative game, and the basic gist of it is similar in which the cooperative nature of it works. As soon as I say Dead of Winter, and you've got a turn limit and you've got a morale limit. So similar to Dead of Winter, if the turn limit ends or the morale ends, it's game over.
So morale or hope?
Was it hope, was it?
It was hope, yeah. So the hope of the city is obviously because everyone's getting beaten up. There isn't much hope. So if you go out into the wilderness and if you fail a mission or you don't return having succeeded, then you lose faith or hope, depending on which one you fail. And I think there's only like 2 points of hope.
I think hope was the one that you could claim. So hope was what you garnered by going out and doing missions and coming back successful. And faith was how much people thought of you. So basically, if someone died, your faith went down 1, and we started on like a faith of 2. When you hit 0, that's it, game over. I think it was that way
but
around.
you gain... No, hope was the low one. There was like 2 points of hope in the entire thing. If you lost hope, you were dead. But you gain faith by
that way around
completing missions. Yeah. But you gain faith by completing missions and beating up monsters and things like that. I'm sure Frank will write and tell us that we're both wrong, and
they were called completely different things.
Yes, but the game itself is very much. I hesitate to say D&D, but that's probably the closest reference I can think of. But it wasn't D&D. There was no system like that. But in sense that you've got characters with stats that you can mold as you see fit. Characters leveled up, and when you level up, you can choose to improve a particular stat of your particular character.
It felt like
each character was individual and had a worker.
Yeah, I was going to say, it felt like an above-ground dungeon crawler, and you've got a worker to go and do your bidding.
Pretty much.
It was, we mentioned Gloom of Kilforth there. It's pretty similar. It was that kind of a fantasy, adventuring, questing kind of game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I, as a bit of a bizarre analogy, I would describe it as a cross between Dead of Winter, Talisman,
Ding,
as designed by Jamie Stegmaier.
Oh,
right.
Because it was a Euro fantasy adventure game.
I can see where you're going there.
There's no randomness in this game at all. Well, I say no randomness. There's randomness in some of the card draws, but it was very deterministic. It was collecting resources. So you were collecting wood, you were collecting food, you were collecting stone to buy equipment. All attacks were like, okay, I've got a strength of 6, so I do 6 damage to the enemy. There was no roll. Well, there was an option to roll dice. Yes, you could change the game ever so slightly to help you to do that. Yeah,
or hinder it by exploring far too bloody far into the forest, John.
I'm not the only one who encountered creatures. It just turned out that the ones that I turned over happened to contain baddies.
And lots of them.
I asked you guys before I ventured into each square, and you all said nothing. Which I took as, yeah, go for it, John, not... really?
Silence is not always tacit agreement.
No, I contest that. There were definite points where it's like, John, we don't want any more enemies. We need to kill the ones we've got. Oh, he's gone and found another bloody enemy.
Oh, God, yes.
Oh,
no, not one enemy. 2 enemies.
Oh, and they're getting progressively harder.
And this one has a shield of 5. What's your attack, Steve? 4. So we can't actually hurt this monster. No. Oh, and it's got a mirror. So any damage we try and do to it is actually done to us instead. Great.
So one thing that's worth mentioning is that each time you encounter a monster, unlike something like Talisman, where it's just a fixed thing, these are randomly generated. So you get like some base stats, but then on top of that, you basically pick some extra abilities out of a bag. So it might have firewall, which means that basically any space next to it catches fire.
It can't be hacked.
Different sort of game you're thinking of, Andy. But it makes it more difficult to attack, because if you've only got if your character's only got a range of 1, they can't sit in the immediate space next to the baddie without getting burnt. So to even get close enough to attack the thing, you have to get burnt and lose some health. And health's, well, relatively hard to come by. So you've got you can have healers in your party which help, bring you back up, but you still got to survive individual rounds.
Yeah, no, it was very good like that. It balanced things, and it did encourage you to level up in order to beat the bad guys, because the game definitely ramped up very quickly. So we were forced to explore, take risks, and obviously try and complete other quests as well, which allowed us to level up, so we can then buy better kit, so we could kill the better monsters and complete the quests that way. So it was all very engaging, actually, all very linked, and the questing and the monster killing were very linked. one led to the other. So you could kill a monster, so you could go questing, and then you could go questing, so you could kill monsters. It was good.
I quite liked as well that you had to have these workers to go out and grab resources, like go and fish or go and mine some ore or get some wooden things. But you could also use those to explore. So if you're a bit worried about your main character getting hurt because he's a bit of a wuss, you can send your worker out, and if they get hurt, if they encounter a baddie, they don't die or anything like that, but they do get captured. So you can use them to go and grab resources, or you can use them to do that. But as soon as they get captured, that means you can't then get any resources, which I discovered turned out to be a bit frustrating. So it's just my character. Well, I can't do anything else. I'll go and have a look in these woods over here. Oh, shit, there's another monster.
No! Simultaneous facepalm from me and Steve. But it was very, very good. Very, very pretty as well. The artwork was superb. The game was extremely well put together, even being a very advanced prototype. But it was very easy to pick up as well. Frank explained the game very well. And once we got the idea of it, it was extremely fluid.
Yes.
And I suppose you could rattle through it, I reckon, pretty quickly, because each character got 4 action points, which you can spend on either the character or your worker. Split between the two. But once you've done that, it's just the next person's go, then it's the next person's go. So once you're used to the game, you could probably rattle through it really quickly. But it then scales, so you can choose, as we've mentioned, there's a number of stories in the game. You can choose as many chapters of these stories as you want. So if you want a quick, hour-long game, you can choose 1 or 2 chapters. If you want a full saga that lasts a weekend, you can put all 9 together and be sat there probably longer than Twilight Imperium, especially the rate we played it.
Yeah, it's quite neat, the fact that you've got those time limits, potential time limits that you can put on it in terms of like the number of rounds or the amount of faith or whatever. Or was it hope?
Despair.
I would say that when we first started, Frank first started taking us through this game, I got very afraid because there was a lot of things going on. You've got a lot of stats you can track, a lot of things you can upgrade, because every single stat of yours it's represented by a little wooden cube on a track, and there's about 5 or 6 different tracks. Then there was a little skill tree as well you could expand upon.
Yeah.
And I remember looking at it to begin with and thinking, oh my God, my head's going to explode. We're never going to be able to understand all this. But once it started moving, it flowed. I was actually quite shocked at how well it flowed. I expected it to be really complicated, but once it started moving, it wasn't. So I was genuinely worried there was too much going on to begin with, because Frank was also setting up the game. So there was piles of tokens and piles of resource bits and pieces and stacks of monsters ready to go. And I was just like, oh my God, this is going to be a nightmare, isn't it? But I was really surprised at how it wasn't. It just flowed really well.
Yeah.
It did make me laugh that he spent the first couple of minutes saying, I'm not going to be one of these demos where I talk for ages about things. I think it's better just to leap in and crack on with stuff. And then spent the next 10 minutes describing all the stuff, at which point me and Steve, I could see Steve looking across at me just going like, I don't know about you, but I am fucking lost. And I was looking back at him going, I have no idea. I was like 10 minutes ago I lost the track. But like you say, as soon as we started actually playing it, it very quickly made a lot of sense. So, yeah.
No, it's very, very good. No, and he took us through. Obviously, it's going to be kickstarting on the 28th, I think it is, of March.
Yeah.
So in about a week from when we're recording this podcast.
It will probably be online by the time this comes out.
So it's probably going to come out tomorrow.
Put your thumb out your arse, Tudor. But yes, you're probably right. By the time I've uploaded my copy.
Yeah, yes, exactly. By the time you've worked out how to use Dropbox again.
It worked fine, don't complain. I blame Dropbox myself, but anyway. But I think it's fair to say that at least one of our number will be backing it. I shouldn't hazard a guess as to which one of us.
Mr. Cage is going to back a Kickstarter.
Is he?
Well, speaking of Kickstarters, in fact, Omino's turned up the other day.
Hooray! Yes, it did, you bastard. I've still not got my copy.
It looks just like the one that we played before.
God damn it.
That's good to know.
Yep.
It is. It's on its way. I know. I have faith.
After many delays,
Or is it
has
hope?
finally appeared.
Or is it morale?
It's something like that. Maybe more distinct names for those two things are worth thinking about.
I must have completely forgotten. I thought it was a turn tracker, that other one, I've got that horribly wrong.
No,
sorry,
no,
Frank.
that was the day or night tracker. That sort of span round, and if you weren't back in the city by the time the thing went round for a full day, then you lost hope. I think it was.
or was it faith?
Or was it Faye?
What was it, morale?
And on that tracker, there was also
It was probably XP. I don't know.
there was also each sort of phase, so each turn there was also things that activated. So there were things that the creatures did that
fire
had
and things.
fire and ice and all the other bits and pieces that activated at different times. There was one point where it just seemed to, it's like all the stars aligned and all the bad guys' stuff happened at the same time. We're like, okay, well, we can't go over there, we can't go over here. Let's just cower in this corner for a turn.
Basically did. We can't get back to the city. Let's just hide by this nice little pond and go fishing. Crack open a beer.
Let's just build some barricades back here and then wait a bit.
It'll be fine.
That was
Just
the
throw
good thing about
rocks at
the
the thing.
little workers, your little caravans were quite good, because you could hide in the corner, just go, I'm sending my worker out to go get some fish. Yes, that's it. That's what we need to do. We need to get some fish.
We need fish. To beat this monster with lots of fire, we need battered cod.
Slap him around the face with a
Send
trout.
him to the chippy.
One mechanic we missed actually is that some of the monsters move around, and to move them around, rather than like roll a dice for a particular direction or something like that, you pick up these cards and they've got a bunch of random directions. So it'll be like move up a couple of spaces and then move across one in one direction. But there were numbers on them, so you try and do the first one that works. So depending on where you are on the board, quite randomizes where the thing can move, and you keep going until it can do something. So these monsters, some of them are quite static and just never move, and other ones they're sort of shuffling around. So you've got this kind of, you're carrying in the corner somewhere, and then all of a sudden it moves like 2/3 of the way across the board, and like, shit, we're all in range now, time to move.
There's that smell of fear again.
That's right. But also, one really nice point about it is that they never attacked on their turn. You always had a turn to react to whatever happened, which was quite good, because although there was lots of stuff that I kept magicking onto the board, we'd always have a little bit of time to react to whatever was popping up. So you weren't suddenly cornered and now it kills you and you didn't have any choice about it. You've actually got a chance to do something about it, which goes back to what you said in, I think, the last podcast I was in, Steve, about making meaningful decisions. There's lots of good, meaningful decisions in this one.
Yeah, it was really, really good. We really enjoyed it.
So yeah, I think we're all fans.
We are indeed.
Definitely, yeah.
So we wish Frank and his team, I guess, all the success on that, as and when it kickstarts. I can see this doing well, I think.
Yes.
I think it will be a very successful Kickstarter. And one more game I'd like to cover, which we didn't see at Airecon, actually.
Bum, bum,
is
bum.
I know. We'd actually got home by this point. Was a game I've actually been sitting on for an embarrassingly long time, called Magmeda Monsters.
Gesundheit.
Yes, which is a game from a chap called Andre, and he sent this to us for a quick review. And I had a look through it. It's a 2-player card game.
You say
and the idea
magnesium
is-
monsters or magnesium?
Magmeda.
Magneta.
Magmeda. Magmeda. Magmeda Monsters. So it's about a warring faction, 2 factions of warring monsters in the Magmeda galaxy. You can see where this is going, and they're fighting each other. The game is split into 2 decks of cards. One player plays the oppression deck. The other one plays the liberation deck.
Which one were you, Andy?
Well, if you can hear the Imperial March in the background, you're probably not too far wrong.
So unlike you.
I know. The idea is that you have a hand of 6 monsters, and your opponent has a hand of 6 monsters, and you have to basically knock out your opponent's monsters. And that's basically the idea of the game. And I have to say I'm a little tepid on the idea, to say the least.
So how do you knock out the monsters?
They have each monster has a set of stats. So there's an attack, a defense, a set of hit points, and magic or the force, whichever way you want to look at it. You can use magic to boost one of the other 3 stats, and then you've got a monster on the table. You play a monster, then you decide you attack with the monster's attack value. The defense negates some of the attack, and then the excess is then removed from the hit points of the defender. And then you sort of go back and forth, and you can play additional monsters at certain times in the game, so you can gang up on one particular target. And the first to knock out their opponent's six monsters wins. So it's essentially a glorified top trumps, as far as I can tell. There's not much more to it than that. It's
So you weren't a massive fan, I'm sensing.
No. It wasn't awful. It wasn't really something that's going to set your pants on fire. It's not something that really grabbed me at all. I mean, we can go into Airecon and have a look at some new games. We like City of Kings and all this sort of stuff. But
I don't think most people would want their pants set on fire, to be honest. That doesn't sound like a good thing.
It's lacking in imagination, I think.
Average?
No. It wasn't that good.
Don't hold back, Andy.
The thing is, it wasn't dreadful. It really wasn't. I mean, the mechanics of the game work perfectly well. It's solid enough. It's just there's nothing particularly exciting about the game. It's perfectly functional. It's just not very exciting. It just I'll do my thing, and then you do your thing, and then I'll do my thing, and then one of us, falls over, and that's basically it. There's nothing else to it, really, unfortunately.
There's not much depth of strategy.
Not that I could tell. I mean, a little bit, but the problem is it's too random. Because you're drawing from a deck of cards, you can't form much of a long-term strategy beyond the cards you've got in your hand. You have a hand of 6 cards, some of which are monsters and some of which are little effects. Some of the monsters have additional abilities and some of them don't. So you can kind of half-string them together, but you can only play those monsters and put them into play at certain points in the game. So it's extremely difficult to form a strategy. And, of course, you're not always guaranteed to get the same effects every time because you just draw 6 random monsters at the start of the game from a massive deck. So strategy is not, in my humble opinion, particularly high on its agenda. It's really just, right, I've got a bunch of monsters, what can I do? So it's really just my numbers are bigger than your numbers, therefore you lose. And that's really it. So, I know Andre's planning to Kickstart it on the 27th of March. But I don't know. I'm not a fan. Let's put it that way. I mean, I'm not a big card player, but there are card games out there that I do like Netrunner and Dominion. And when I handed Steve's arse to him in Battle for Solaria. And there are a couple of others. I mean, we played Multi-Universum. That's a good card game as well. So there are card games out there that I do like.
This one just didn't float your boat.
It did not. No, this floated my boat about as well as a corkscrew in the hull. So
Fair
no,
enough.
not for me.
Is this just a thing that it's a bit of an... Well, you just said it wasn't an average game. So I was going to say, is this one of those things that there's that many games coming out these days that you've got to be a stunning game to grab your attention?
I think so. Well,
but
I mean, the bar at the moment is very high.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if this game had come out 5 years ago, would it have made a bit more of a splash? But the way you're suggesting it would have even struggled then, to be fair.
I'd say so. I'd say there's nothing particularly exciting about it. Nothing we haven't seen before. Honestly, it's just glorified top trumps. It really is. Which I know sounds really harsh, but it's all I see from it. Every time I think about it and played through it, it's just, well, this number's bigger than that defense. This number wins.
It sounds like that.
And that's it.
That beer trumps that we saw a year ago. What was that called?
Oh, yeah.
Hop something.
Oh, the one we saw at Expo.
Yes, hop trumps or something daft like that, wasn't it?
It wasn't that.
No, that was what you called it, Steve. It wasn't called hop trumps, which, to be fair, is a name they really should use. But yeah, it was like that. It's it's something you sort of play and go, well, functionally it's fine, but it's not really going to grab me. And
it doesn't sound like the
say,
effects.
Right, I want this.
The effects that you mentioned were a big enough mechanic to be able to shape the rest of it. Is that right?
Some of them were, and a lot of them weren't. They're also very difficult to read because the text on the card for them is really small. So it's difficult for your opponent to see what's going on, especially for ones that had like an ongoing effect. So you were continually picking up the different cards and reading them and putting them down again and trying to remember what was going on, and it felt clunky and it wasn't very streamlined and it was difficult to keep track of.
So maybe they just need some more visible symbols on the cards would help a bit.
Yeah, I've in my review I've suggested better iconography. Really, just some sensible symbols would be a lot easier to recognise. I think there is the bones of a reasonably good game in there somewhere. I just think it needs a bit more
polish,
thought, and content and polish and time.
Okay.
But we'll see. You never know. It might sell gangbusters and I will have to eat pie of the humble variety.
Frey Bentos, humble pie.
Oh, someone needs to make that. So yeah, that was Magmeda Monsters, which is launching on Kickstarter. Well, apparently launching on Kickstarter on the 27th of March. So we'll see how that goes.
Oh yeah. I'm afraid that's all we've got time for, folks.
Boo.
I can just hear the audience going, thank Christ for that.
A sigh of relief.
My God, he stopped fucking talking.
So we'll be back in a couple of weeks with another slice of board gaming chat.
You lucky listeners.
Horseshit, as it's commonly known.
Or unlucky listeners if you're on the Andy camp.
So, yeah, again, we can be found on Facebook at facebook.com/Polyhedron Collider. We're, of course, at polyhedroncollider.com with loads of nice reviews. I am on Twitter at PolyhedronC.
I'm on Twitter at John_Cage.
And I'm on Twitter at SonicH with a 0.
We will see you in a couple of weeks. Tatty bye, folks.
Catch you later.
See you.